Hi, David. It is a
Hello.
pleasure to have you here with me chatting on the occasion of when we're the Miami Book Fair's literary conversation. And I'm delighted that you decided to join me in sharing here with our audience about what it means to be an investor and an entrepreneur. And I wanted to just share with others a little bit about your background before I jump into chatting with you and asking you some very easy questions. So, David Mullings is the founder, chairman, and CEO of Mahoe Capital Partners Incorporated. This is a private investment firm focused on providing retail investors with the access to a portfolio of public and private equity in the Caribbean. David is the director of Fund Black Founders, chair of the Development Bank of Jamaica Mentorship Innovation Entrepreneurship Program, and he also serves on the advisory board for the Caribbean School of Data funded by Google.org and based at the Mona Business School of Business and Management in Jamaica. David is also a member of the Board of Advisors of Kingston Creative, which is a movement with the mission to make downtown Kingston a vibrant center for creatives and the creative entrepreneurship in the Caribbean. He strongly believes in giving back. I can attest to that. Uplifting others and teaching people to fish, not just giving them the fish. He calls it compassionate capitalism, and that is good for society. So thank you, David. That is, I think, really a very good background for us to jump into why we do what we do. And I'm
I,
sharing that because I did my latest book, which just came out this month, actually, in November. This is the book, and it is called Your Career Digital Switch It. And the reason I did this, because my background spans human resource management and organizational change. But in going through my research with Nova Southeastern University and publishing at the journal, the business journal, the Journal of American Academy of Business, this is all based on leadership and success.
mm,
And it was founded, the research was founded in chatting with people like yourself, interviewing people who are heads of organizations and so on and so forth. And I have found, as I did the book, it was to really help others. So it speaks to a lot of things, including our purpose. Why do we do what we do? And hence, I wanted you now, David, to share what is your purpose and why do you do what you do?
and also, thank you very much, Dr. Cameron, for having me. And I do look forward to reading the book. And I'm sure I'm going to learn from it as much as I have learned along the way. I love learning from people like you and that kind of information.
Thank you,
In,
David.
in terms of why I do what I do, for me, I was 15 years old when I finished high school in Jamaica, fifth form. And dad asked me what I want to be when I grow up. And I said to him, I want to be a positive role model for young people around the world, but
Yeah.
especially young black males. And I was everything I do is related to me being a positive role model. So
Right.
I want to always exceed their expectations if we sit down and talk for even 5 minutes.
Yes,
I
yes,
want
yes.
to leave something positive inside of every single person that I meet with. I don't get to do with everybody, but the majority of
Right.
people who've met me, I would say, can say that I made them smile or I made them laugh or I left them
Yes.
with some
Yeah.
gem, some nugget of information because I believe in the song that we're growing up, we hear the song "One Talent Have I." Right?
Yes.
I know that I have multiple talents, and if I don't use them, someone is going to be very upset that I wasted talent that I was given. And one of the talents is to inspire other people, and so I feel that I have to do that. Otherwise, I'm wasting that talent.
Okay, perfect. So would you suggest, therefore, that us as individuals, need to have some form of purpose as to why we do what we do? Why do we get up and go to work? Is it something that you need to do, or is it something that you're just getting up every day? And can you speak to that as far as the purpose is concerned?
Yes, no, that's 100% right. I think you hit the nail on the head. There are two books that really influence the way I think. One is Clayton Christensen's book talking about how will you measure your life, right? So
Mhm.
if you think of it from the standpoint of, well, I'm 18, I finish high school, I start college, or I go into the work world and start my career, Why am I doing that? How will I measure my life later on when I retire? The thing is, if you talk to older people, they're going to actually tell you about a lot of the regrets that they have and the things they didn't do. So we, as you know, when you're younger, you need to start thinking, is this what I would want to do if this was the last day I would wake up? Right? That when you have a near-death experience, you know, I had one last February. That was a wake-up call. Some of us have it a midlife crisis, and we say that this wasn't what I set out to do. I got off track. So you need to have an end in mind, a goal, a destination. There will be multiple pathways, but if you have a destination, you will know if you're off the path or not.
That's
because
right.
I know where I'm going. And then the second book is Find Your Why, right? Simon Sinek. I think that is also a really good one.
Yes.
Most people don't have the kind of clarity or purpose that I would have at 15 years old, which guides my life through to age 50. I did a 15-year plan, broke into blocks of 5 years from age 15 to age 30. And then at age 30, at age 30, I then did a 20-year plan, broke into blocks of 5 years, and had my wife give input at that point in time. But few people would have that, and there's nothing wrong with not having a 15-year plan or a 20-year plan. But what does a happy life look like for you? Right. And if it's that job that you're in right now is not it, or that career, then you need to fix that, because you'll be very unhappy and it's going to affect any success that you could possibly have. So I think that purpose is crucial to living a happy and fulfilling life. And happy life doesn't mean that you're always happy. Life is highs and lows, but you need to make sure that that happy peak is going to always make up for that down, right? That trough.
So I think it's the fulfillment that is what is key. You would be surprised that I do a lot of interviews, in the capacity that I am with HR. And when you're doing it and you're interviewing even some managers, and you ask them what is their 5-year plan, it would appall you. They don't know. They don't know. And then you have to help them to break it down. But that's because I'm kind of different. But okay, where do you see yourself in certain, hey, so you were right when you shared with it. I mean, 15 years, everybody said 15 years. I don't know if I'm going to be around, but you need to do that. You need to have a guiding light. For me, I will always say that if you don't know where you're going, you're going to end up somewhere else. That is one motto that I follow. So I encourage people to do that. So thank you for raising that. Tell me about decision making. How do you go about decisions? I know there are lots of persons now. This year has been a challenging year. And for me, I was coming out with the book again. The book. I was coming out with it, and I said, but the COVID set in. So I said, let me hold back a little bit and see. Because I had the framework in it. It was done from the research, and I wanted to build on it so other persons could do it. But then I'm wondering, how do you see this as, I'm talking about in general, how do people in general see this year? Is it a year that you're making decisions, okay, I'm gonna roll with it, whatever comes my way, rather than planning and making a definitive response to either ditch it or switch it? How do you make decisions? Can you share?
Well, I love it. There's a general, I can't remember the name right now, that had said that no battle plan survives contact with the enemy, right? And Mike Tyson is famous for saying that everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face. but the important thing is that if you have a plan, you can then adjust the plan. If you have no plan, anyway, it will send you anywhere. So if you have to think of it as you're in a sailboat. If you're in a sailboat and you're trying to get to an island, you actually don't go in a straight line. You have to go with the wind. That's how you sail. You can't just sail straight. Well, if you didn't plan to go to the island, then the wind will just take you wherever the wind wants to go. So when you have a plan, which is why you need to have a decision-making framework to help you stay on plan or adjust the plan. So when COVID happens in 2020, it allows you to say, wait, my plan, is something in my plan going to be accelerated? Is something going to be slowed down? And then you make adjustments based on that. In our case, we are fortunate, right? We have an investment thesis that's over a 10-year life. Everything we buy, we want to hold for at least 10 years. And that means that if you plan to hold companies for the long term, they inevitably are going to go through ups and downs. It's not just up and to the right. It's not perfect. And so if you're prepared for troughs when you hold a business, it means that we're going to come across something like this. We didn't expect a pandemic, but things happen that cause business to slow down or get hurt. And We also looked at trends, right? We're in the fourth industrial revolution. So we had looked at what trends are happening now that would allow us to figure out what are strong long-term growth industries that we want to invest in. I'm not interested in investing in short-term things. We're looking long-term, strong growth industries. COVID simply accelerated work from home. It accelerated, this idea of remote work, telepresence, telemedicine, the importance of technology, cybersecurity. We were already investing based on that thesis. There were companies and even countries who weren't paying attention to that, who weren't diversifying their economies. So guess what? We never bought into tourism. We never invested in companies that don't have good tech platforms. And the people who wouldn't listen to us, the executives usually have an older generation, who thought everybody had to come in the office and work 9 to 5 and work 40 hours a week or 50 hours, and that they don't need to have a good website, that they don't need to have a social media presence, that they don't need to learn how to use Zoom. They just got a wake-up call. They got a brick
reacted.
Exactly. So we own 5% of a tech company. We own shares in a publicly traded company that does outsource IT management. Their business is only going to go up. That's great. Yeah. But this was already happening. You should have been investing this way. So that's what I'd say. If you're making decisions based on where trends are going, and you take the time to study and analyze, and then you're confident in your decision making, right? Understanding why somebody made a decision, not just what the decision was. It positions you to react better to whatever gets thrown at you in the world. And in fact, in our case, we got to accelerate things during COVID. We didn't slow down. We raised more money in the last 6 months than I raised in the last 6 years. So because our thesis was proved out.
Right. So what I wanted to just, on the same path that you're on, there's a lot of people who are thinking, and I usually talk to a lot of persons who want to ditch it. Ditch it means that you ditch the job that you're sick and tired of getting up every morning. How can somebody get up every single day and be sick and tired of going to work? And it happens over and over and over widely.
It does.
Right. So I'm saying, okay, ditch that. There are some who wants to go into entrepreneurship. There are some who ditch the job and go into the job that you really want. Start planning. I want you to speak to that. Because you can either switch it. I say switch it, and that's why the book is called Switch It as well, because you switch the career. You switch it from the boring one, and you see my face going crazy because switch it from boring job. And I've been there with people at the executive level who are sick and tired of getting up and going to the job. Go do what you want to do. Can you just share from your perspective about aspiring, or aspiring, not authors in this case, but aspiring entrepreneurs?
Right. General. So I have, whether it's entrepreneur or within the business as well, you can be an intrapreneur or you could be
That's the point. Yes.
I would say I use a framework that looks at 6 specific things whenever I'm looking at opportunities. I rank opportunities against each other, and then I limit myself to only 3 at any one time, because I don't want to stretch myself too thin. I don't want to be a jack of all trades. I want to focus and become a master of one, not a master of none. So focus. But then how do I know what to focus on? So I rank everything low, medium, and high for the 6 attributes. And so I want to look at, for example, what's the risk? How much risk is involved? Is it low, medium, or high risk to take this on? Especially entrepreneurship, we have to think, what are you now going into? Right? What is the potential payoff for this opportunity? Low, medium, or high? I want to know how much outcome control I have. Is it somebody else's business and I'm being employed to help them? I'm a minority partner, they can dilute me. I need to know how much control I have over that outcome. I need to know how much capital is required to make this thing at least a basic success and can pay the bill. So is it low, medium, or high capital required? If it's high capital, it's an automatic no, right? I need to, but I think people forget some really important ones, right? A very crucial one for me certainly is enjoyment.
Yes.
How much enjoyment am I going to get from working on this business, right? First you're working in it, but then working on this or at this job. Is it low, medium, or high enjoyment? And what enjoyment will I get from working with the people I have to work with on this thing? If I don't have high enjoyment, I just don't bother. It's not worth my time because I'm not going to want to get up. Or if I do have to get up, I know that is a chore, is a requirement that do it for the money, which means I don't put out my best effort. I'm not going to focus on being exceptional. Right?
Yes.
I think that it is important for us to find things that make us want to do our best. So if you're in a job or in a career where you don't feel like you want to be the best at it, then you shouldn't be in there.
That's right.
Is a disservice to the company and the capital they pay. It is a disservice to you and your talents and your mental health, to be honest. So you shouldn't have to wake up and then push yourself to go and work on whatever it is you're working on. You're supposed to wake up early because you're so anxious to get
Of course,
to work.
you're so anxious to do it.
You shouldn't be talking about TGIF. Thank God it's Friday. It should be like, it don't matter which day.
You know, you're stepping on a lot of toes when you say that, right? TGIF is everything.
Like, I genuinely don't get it. The friends of mine that I have that say TGIF, I'm like, and why are you working in that job? You shouldn't wait for Friday to be like, thank God I can finish work. No, I work on the weekends. I don't care which day it is. I enjoy what I do. So that's what I would say are the things that matter to me in my framework. It's not the same for everybody. You pick one, but I think enjoyment should be in everybody's framework.
Because if that's missing,
capital
makes no sense.
No, to me, it makes no sense. Life is short, and until you have some sort of near-death experience personally, not just your friend, but if something happens to you personally in a life flash behind it, before your eyes, that is when you realize how short life is, and then you make decisions after that now based on, oh yeah, I don't like this, and I might not be here next year, so I'm not doing this rubbish anymore. I'm not going to let this person talk to me like that. I'm not going to let this person bully me. I'm not going to listen to this naysayer. But why does it take something dramatic happening for us to say, you know what, I'm done. Let me deal with this thing. I need to find stuff I love. I need to move. I need to change cities. I don't like the cold. I'm moving from New York and I'm moving to Miami, right? Why you need something bad to happen?
You're right. You brought it down practical. Simply, just even move. And I talk about relocation in the book too, because it's the same. Yes, it's the same concept.
I read the book, right? I don't know.
Why stick with it? So I wanted to shift gears somewhat and ask you a question about, I know many persons know that you have written books, right? You have written 2 books, and I wanted you to speak to the book. Why did you write a book? Why is it necessary at all for anybody to write a book? And the second part is, what are the lessons that you learned? So whichever one you want to start with first.
I will start with why and then the lesson. Right. So the first book was called Social Media for Entrepreneurs. This is probably 12 years ago. I would speak a lot at universities and speak everywhere anybody would ask me to talk about my entrepreneurship journey. Having co-founded Real Vibes with my brother back in 2002. We had grown to become, the largest platform for Caribbean music videos on the web. We became YouTube's first Caribbean media partner in 2008. So when I spoke about how we had leveraged social media to grow our platform and get people to it, somebody reached out to me and had me speak at an event in Miami. And before I was going to speak, they asked me the week before, hey, so do you have like a book to go and sell? Oh, okay. And I was like, no, I haven't written a book as yet. And she's like, yeah, because we can't pay you to come and speak. So you should have a book to sell when you speak. And I said, well, what am I going to do the book on? And she's like, well, take your slides and turn them into a book. Make a deeper book based on the slides. So I quickly learned how to do, an ebook and get it up in the iBooks. Yeah. And that was the first book I did. It's like, take the slide presentation and the speech and turn it into a bigger book with practical things to follow. So that was the first one. And that's why you should do a book. If you know something and you think you're good at it, then you should talk about that to the world and then have something to sell them. Whether sell them a course or sell them a book or sell them both and do that. It just makes sense. But so that's number one. The second one I did was called Things Entrepreneurs Say. And so I applied lessons from the first book to this one in the sense of when you are, especially, self-publishing, you have to spend a lot of money on marketing. People don't realize that, especially if you're going to print a physical book. I mean, this might cost you need to design the stuff, you need to pay for copywriting, you need to get it printed, what's the minimum to print if you want to do it that way. So it was a lot of work. With Things Entrepreneurs Say, I decided that I needed other people to help to amplify the fact that this book exists. So with Things Entrepreneurs Say, I was posting different quotes on Facebook and Twitter from entrepreneurs I look up to that we know. So Richard Branson, Warren Buffett, all these guys. And people found them inspiring. And I realized that there was no book that had those kinds of quotes. Like I couldn't just buy a book and that morning open and say, oh, I want to find a quote related to perseverance or a quote to overcoming failure, right? Why doesn't this exist? And I looked around and was like, nobody has done this. Well, I know how to publish a book, so screw this. I'm going to collect these quotes, put them in a book, but I didn't want to only collect the famous quotes. Let me get quotes from not so famous entrepreneurs related to entrepreneurship. That way, these people would have a chance to get their names in the lights alongside a Richard Branson quote, but their company and their website. So we put that out. We got about 120 people responded. I picked the 70 best quotes, put them in there, and then I printed a pocketbook version of the book and sent it to every single one of these people who had given me a quote. So all of them got a free copy. They could now post and say, hey, I'm featured in this book. Check out the quote. And so it drove traffic to this thing. So that was a good lesson, is when you give other people visibility with your platform, they become amplifiers for you. And that's good. Leverage that. Don't think that you need to keep everything to yourself. Leverage it and help other people to shine. They will remember that you helped them to shine.
Okay, perfect. So you know that as you're talking there, the story kind of coincided. That's how I started. I wrote a book called 101 Plus quotes for 101 plus empowering quotes for new entrepreneurs. I wrote that one, and it's the same, along the same breath that I was posting each morning. It started from my research that I did, and then I started posting, and people would meet me on the physically and saying, oh, I love your quotes. And I'm saying, oh my God. So they started pressuring me, to keep putting out the quotes every morning, even when it is, even when it's inconvenient for me. But I responded to the market, and I've been putting out quotes. After a while, some people saw me, and then they didn't have that access because they're not on Instagram, which is where I live a lot. And I decided to pull them together, the best ones. And I created that book, and I have that book that entrepreneurs can kind of help themselves, feed themselves, because you need to keep motivated.
You need that. Motivation is the hardest thing from an entrepreneur, and you cannot simply be self-motivated. There are days you're going to wake up, feel down. There are nights you're going to be frustrated at the end of the day. You look at the bank account and a payment you didn't know was about to hit and cause the account to go negative when you see red. I mean, if you've been an entrepreneur, you've been there. And so you don't necessarily have friends around you who get it, right? A lot of your friends might be 9 to 5 and they can't relate, and they think you work for yourself and live this amazing life. And then the other entrepreneurs around you probably struggling just like you. So it's not being an entrepreneur support group to say, yeah, man, go. When you open one of those quotes down, it's like, so Steve Jobs didn't go through that. So yeah, man, vibes.
That's already, the point. Exactly.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Exactly. So I think you spoke to a few of the lessons learned from those why you wrote the books. So I wanted to jump into Random Media. Can you share a little bit about Random Media?
Yeah, so that was fun. Random Media was the actual entity. Random Media LLC was what we created to own RealVibes.tv, which was the actual web platform. So Random Media was a company. And we eventually did want to get into publishing. That was one of the things. We had 6 legs we wanted to eventually do: video, TV, and print. So we approached a company in Jamaica to partner with them. They do a lot of, most publishing companies in the Caribbean do textbooks, non-fiction. This company does fiction books. And we said, hey, none of your books are available in the Amazon Kindle store or in the iBook store. Why? And they said, oh, we don't know how to digitize it and so on. We need somebody to do that. And so I then approached them to sign a deal where we became their digital publishing partner. And we had to take those books and manuscripts, digitize them. We did a test run. Let's do the first 13 and let us figure out our process. What's the best process to digitize, get it in the Kindle and get in the iBooks, because I had already done that with 2 of my own books.
Yes.
I was like, I can do it, leverage this knowledge now. So I'm writing another book. How about we find really good selling books that aren't available digitally, and then try and sell them into the Caribbean diaspora that people could read, whether it's a White Witch of Rose Hall or a dancehall dictionary. So it was really interesting to learn about trying to do that at scale. When you work with a large company who expects much bigger volumes and they expect you to work like a big company, and it's like, guys, we're a startup, Like we can't do this in just overnight. We don't have 10 people to do this. It's 2 guys in a garage, basically. Like, go a little easy. We tested this, but it was fascinating to see which countries people are buying these Caribbean stories from, and which ones were the ones that they were really into. So that was what Random Media did. And one day we will probably revisit that. That's the nice thing about Blue Mahoe Capital. We get to invest in Caribbean public and private companies. And so there is a possibility that we could end up acquiring a majority control of a publisher in the Caribbean to then help to digitize that content, because there are many of us, right, second, third generation that live outside of the Caribbean who would love to have access to our stories in digital format. The children are growing up doing this, right?
Of course.
Worse now, school is basically virtual.
Yes.
They not picking up a paperback
And
book to read. So I grew up reading Hardy Boys and then Story Time, Smile,
Nancy Drew.
So how about the digital version of that? Let's
yes.
And then the nice thing is that we do own a film company in Jamaica. And so when we have a publishing entity, Random Media, we would now know what sales are doing well and which countries we could then do scripts based on those stories, the best-selling ones, and we could easily now go and pitch Netflix, Amazon, Apple, and say, hey, we sold 100,000 copies of this, and here are the 5 top countries where it's being sold. We have a database to be able to push it out to people. When it's created, you should give us a budget and we can shoot a film. So I see it as really being able to work together.
Yeah.
And that was the one who named the company. When I laid out to him what the 6 things were, he said, why so random? And I said, no, this is what Viacom did. This is what Disney does. It's not random, but that's a great name. Random Media LLC, registered in Florida.
I like that. So what I'm hearing from you is you are definitely someone who is forward thinking, always looking ahead, always planning, always that visionary that is there, that is out there, that has learned from others who have been successful and applying it. Under that concept, as we wind down, I want to hear from you. Any plans that you want to share with us about the future?
So you know, you want me to bust a secret?
Yes,
I can tell you one thing. I'll give you something that we haven't announced as yet, which will be exciting when it comes. But we have given a verbal commitment to produce a number of films in Jamaica over the next 5 years. I won't give away the total number, but it will be a revolving budget. I won't give out the number now. And we are in discussions with a large US platform for them to offtake every single one of those films that we would produce in Jamaica with a team down there. And we're really excited about being able to tell our stories based on our books. Let's tell our stories in our way, or tell other stories, but with our voice through our eyes and our narrative. And then provide real amazing jobs and allow people to see Jamaica and the wider Caribbean beyond just sun, sea, and sand. There's so much more to our cultures, but we have to tell those stories. It's no different from when CNN or somebody else goes to sub-Saharan Africa and they want to show you, scrawny kids and lions and zebras. I'm like, have you seen that whole amazing Botswana? It looks like a country. Have you been to Rwanda?
Yes.
It's the same thing when I show people the Kingston I go to versus what is shown on TV, or the Jamaica I know, and they're like, what? I didn't know that building is there. That's amazing. That's the very first world. I'm just like, yeah, which part of Jamaica you didn't know we had this here? Like, we don't live in huts with thatched roofs, man. So we are super excited about that. Which is why Carol Beckford joined our team. Carol was a film commissioner for Jamaica. And Carol was brought on board in September as our vice president of sports and entertainment, and she is an author. She's done 2 books, and her 3rd book is coming out, and I actually wrote the afterword for that book, so I can't wait.
That's good.
Carol's book come out.
So you're planning to update that book, that social media book, though?
Oh, so we're planning.
This is my little thing to you, because I want to hear that you're going to do that.
Oh man, things have completely changed in the social media landscape.
Right.
So we actually have a content team. We're finalizing a deal now to acquire a digital marketing firm. They do our content for us. I've been impressed. So we're actually going to buy the company and then have them service the portfolio. We have other companies we invested in. And then service them. But then I can update the book to say, here's what we did to build my personal brand and online and build a company's brand. Here's what we did. And then we want to update things Entrepreneurial say. I actually have a new forward from somewhere that's updated, but we're working on a much bigger book. And this time not self-published. I'm in talks with a few different publishers. And I'm still open. I haven't signed anything. I'm looking for a publisher to do a book about Black wealth creation in North America. how have people who look like us, people of color, created wealth? What are their frameworks? What are the lessons?
Yes.
How do they think? And so
Yes.
I expect to get Michael Leach, my mentor, to write the
Yes.
foreword for
Yes.
that one, right?
Yes.
But we need to pass on this knowledge, give people access to information, and then let them uplift themselves and create generational wealth.
Of course, and that goes back to your purpose that you
That
shared
is my
about
purpose.
teaching
That's what I have to
someone
do.
to
I have to
fish
do.
as opposed to giving them a
Yeah,
fish. Um,
exactly.
so we're basically done, but I like the background. And where are you located? I know you chat about a lot about the Caribbean and Jamaica and stuff, but where are you located?
I am in Miami, Florida. You're
Yes,
looking out right now.
that's
You're actually looking straight out to Brickell right now. So I'm in Miami, Florida, downtown.
so you're
Super.
one of those who left Jamaica but still invest and do
And
everything to
so
develop
and
the
the question
country.
is, have I mean, before COVID, I was in Jamaica every month for 1 week for 2 years. We still have the house, I still have the car, we have a business registered there, I pay taxes, I have a Jamaican passport. I sit on the boards of 3 entities in Jamaica. So
Yes.
I have never left. I have 1 foot in Jamaica, 1 foot here. When I land there, well, let me give you a joke. We're going to close this one. So
Yes.
my wife jokes, I have 2 closets. Yeah, my parents know this. At the house in Jamaica, I have almost the same closet as I have in the US, because what I do is wait for things to be on sale 50% off. And then I buy 2 of the same shirts, right? 2 of the same Calvin Klein shirt. And I bring down one set and I leave them in Jamaica. So I have shoes,
Oh, so you don't
I
have
have a
to,
suit.
when you're going, you don't have to. Oh, that's
I
cool.
All I need to fly with is my iPad and my phone. I don't need nothing else. I have football boots, I have my jerseys, my shorts, swim clothes, full suit,
Eric,
blazer, khaki pants. And I know what the closet look like. I just need
I
to bring
love
my
that.
tie, bring my ties, bring my socks, and my
Yeah.
iPad. I am there. So I don't think I ever left Jamaica.
Well, that's a perfect note to end on. Thank you so much, David. Is there any last words you want to share?
Please keep doing what you're doing, Dr. Cameron. I definitely want to get the book. I need to promote it to my people who follow me on social media, because I'm sure that it's going to be really important, especially because of what has happened with COVID. The
Yeah.
pandemic has caused a lot of people to pause
Yeah.
and reassess their lives
Yeah.
and what they're doing. And I think your book is extremely timely to help these people discover what their true purpose is and identify what are they really passionate about. So I look forward to helping you to promote the book.
Of course. Thank you so much, David. I really appreciate it. And tell them where they can find you, and I will tell people where I can find. I'm basically shellycameron.com. And that's simply my name is Dr. Shelly Cameron, and I have my website is shellycameron.com. Please share with the people.
DavidMullings.com. Everything else is there. And if you
Very
want, I
easy.
love doing this. Google David Mullings. You don't even need my middle name or my middle
That's the
initial.
point. Everything comes up.
Everything comes.
Thank you so much, David. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Dr. Cameron. Really appreciate you as well.
Okay.